Thanks, Chase. As this historic drought continues to affect trees and other vegetation in our area, it's also leading to increased wildfire danger throughout California. Here to help us break it all down is someone who knows a thing or two about our forests, Dr. Chad Hanson, co-founder of the John Muir Project 25 years ago, and recently wrote the book Smokescreen: Debunking Wildfire Myths to Save Our Forests and Our Climate. Dr. Hanson, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Now, Doctor, we're already starting to see the effects of drought on some of our trees inside the cities. Are we seeing the same thing happen inside some of our forests?
Yes, of course. A drought year generally means an above-average fire year, and of course, we're seeing some significant fires already, and we'll probably see more before the end of fire season. I think the important thing to realize is that the science is telling us two very different things about wildfires, especially when it comes to forests. In forest ecosystems, fire is actually as natural and necessary as sun and rain. It creates important wildlife habitat, it cycles nutrients, and even those patches where it kills most or all the trees, turns out that's some of the very best wildlife habitat for woodpeckers and bluebirds and all kinds of shrub nesting birds. But fire is a major threat to communities, and that we can do something about. And so what the science is really telling us is we need to focus our resources and our attention on protecting homes and saving lives in communities.
Of course, I know that that's what most Angelenos are worried about. Now, we all do know that droughts come and go, but this one we're going through right now was one of the worst we've seen in decades. Is it a sign of things to come?
Well, there are a lot of predictions that we may see more significant droughts and more prolonged droughts. And so it's something we need to keep a careful eye on. And of course, this is a very significant signal of climate change due to human activities. And so, there are things that we can do about that. We really can turn the corner on the climate crisis, but it means we're going to have to make some changes. We need to move away from fossil fuels, and we need to substantially increase protection of our forests from logging so that we stop emitting carbon into the atmosphere from logging operations, and so our forests can draw down atmospheric carbon and sequester and store it in the growing trees.
Now, I wonder how drought affects fires and also firefighting efforts.
Well, drought is always a significant factor in fire season. I mean, again, you typically have your bigger fire seasons during drought years, especially during hot, dry, windy conditions, because forest fires are driven overwhelmingly by weather and climate, and therefore also climate change. And so it's about the weather, it's about the heat, the dryness, the wind. Drought is a key factor in that. It's not about how dense the forest is or how many dead trees there are. Interestingly, what most of the research is showing is that dense forests that haven't burned in a long time, forests with many dead trees, they actually tend to burn at lower intensities or equal intensities when fires occur.
That's
But when
interesting.
logging occurs, oftentimes under the rubric of thinning or fuel reduction, oftentimes these fires burn faster and hotter through those areas because logging reduces the cooling shade of the forest canopy, and it creates hotter, drier, windier conditions.
Wow. Well, those are all important things for us to keep in mind. We know as Angelenos that we live in fire season pretty much year round now, and so we need to be very, very careful and cognizant of what we're doing surrounding our property, surrounding our home, and making sure that we are obviously conserving as much water as possible. Dr. Chad Hanson with the John Muir Project, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.